This week, your favourite can-drinking podcasters subjected themselves to an hour of lies and awkward flirting thanks to top fascist Alice Weidel and billionaire philosopher Elon Musk, who revealed his vulnerable, damaged soul. Speaking of enablers, the bourgeoisie give the fascists a leg up in Austria, as they do, and democratic society is once again undermined. Woohoo! Happy 1933!
Imbalance heart when news is unveiled. Megan and Conrad with German tales. The German news, it's tough to bear, but with mega cans, they're ready to head Conrad, daily news at hand. Megan feels to spare time to crack those cans. With each sip she takes, the mag is her shield, but will it last the news? 'Cause that was the deal.
Okay, hello everybody. Yeah, it's the first episode of Megan's Megacan in 2025. I'm still Megan, and I'm here in Berlin with Konrad Werner. Hi, Konrad.
Hello, I'm glad you haven't changed your name over the new year.
No.
No reason to change your name. You didn't get into trouble.
No.
Okay.
Very little has changed. Very little has changed.
Unlike in the world around us,
Yeah.
we offer a little sheen of normality
Yeah. That's like a nice way to think of it.
on the horrors happening all around us.
It is looking particularly mad out there. But luckily we still have Megacan, so here we go.
Did you have a nice festive season?
I did, yeah, but we were traveling a lot, so I've been all over the place. We have a Jim Beam Lime Splash for us today because they're just good, and there's so few left, to be honest, that are 330 mils.
Yeah. Last little bit of holiday. Isn't it still technically Christmas? No, it's not, is it? We're past the 12th
Well,
day.
does it go until the 6th?
If we're
Epiphany
Orthodox.
is the 6th. That's where the Three Kings come.
Yeah.
But don't people also do something on the 12th? 'Cause I don't
Orthodox
know.
New Year, I believe.
Ah.
So in the Orthodox churches, they're having a New Year coming up. And the New Year, I've learned in the Orthodox churches, is when you get all the presents.
Yeah.
So it's more fun than Christmas. Cheers.
Cheers. I learnt about Dietmar Roche this Christmas, which is the Santa Claus in that part of the world, who's helped
What?
apparently by a sexy lady.
He's called Dietmar Roche.
Dietmar Roche, I
What
think.
is he like from Thüringen?
Well, Diet is
Dietmar.
my pronunciation is horrible.
Is he
Diet is
a
his
plumber?
grandfather, so he's
Oh, okay.
grandfather Frost,
Oh, right.
and helped by someone who I cannot pronounce, who's like a beautiful blonde lady.
Oh, right. You sound like a CDU leader from Nordrhein-Westfalen.
If someone called Grandfather Frost, or, if this is actually happening this time next year, if they have we're beyond satire at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? I don't want to talk about any of it. We better just dive straight into the news, 2025.
So I sent you an MP3 file
No.
of a recording that I made last night. While I was watching Elon Musk talk to our dear leader, Alice Weidel. And because I wanted you to listen to it, because I didn't want to have to describe it to you, because I don't think I would have ever been able to do justice to it.
It was...
So I really wanted you to get at least to get a feel for what was going on.
It was like something written by, like, the people who write Succession, but Succession is like higher level of... It was really interesting in ways that I didn't think it was going to be interesting. But we can talk a little bit about my like unifying theories of Elon Musk and what his whole thing is.
Well, so listeners, to catch up, yesterday there was an X Space, which is a sort of audio only platform in which was trailed for a long time. The AfD was very excited about, as was the German media. Basically, Elon Musk, the so-called richest man in the world, essentially gave an audience to Alice Weidel, the leader of the AfD, co-leader and chancellor candidate in the upcoming election. Mm-hmm. It was done in English, obviously. He did not have his video on, but she did. It was like one of those Zoom calls, where someone decides, I don't want to have... It did have some real
Zoom call awkwardness.
Yeah.
And they're both quite awkward people.
Yeah. And it was... But it was also like when you have a meeting at work and someone doesn't turn the camera on. It was a bit like that.
It's very disconcerting. She
Yeah.
did seem a bit disconcerted quite often,
But
/ a little bit
yeah.
overwhelmed. What I will say for Alice, very good English. I was impressed with it. It's very difficult to do that, debating stuff. Or like, not, they weren't debating. There was no point at which they...
Yeah, they didn't disagree about anything.
No.
They were very much on the same page, and they kept cackling at each other's
Oh
jokes.
God, it was horrible. It was like flirtatious. It was like, it was not good at some points.
And there was like a weird moment where he says, when they were talking about the importance of critical feedback, and you shouldn't say no, and then they kept saying no to each other, and they kept laughing at each other saying no. Do you remember
That was a
bit?
very strange point. You'd already, like, our WhatsApp chat this afternoon, it's just me being like, I'm using this as notes, so just like texting you incessantly.
So there was,
Because he was like, yeah, and if she's like, I have a team around me and it's their job to disagree with me every day.
Yeah.
And
not enough.
No.
Someone might say.
But also, like, you're in a political party. You're not going to disagree about the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the definition of an echo chamber. It's
So,
like one political party.
I mean, it was kind of embarrassing. It was embarrassing because the German media made such a big deal out of it, which was very embarrassing too. And it kind of just shows how like we're like enthralled to American stuff.
Do you know what though?
Like,
I think
an American man wants to listen to us talk,
but
and they got really
not
excited.
American.
Well, no, he is, but he's not.
Well, yeah.
But,
But do you know what I think? Because I'm also like, we need to like not pay attention to but that time has passed. The problem is that we've been in thrall. We missed the boat to dismiss Elon Musk out of hand. He's now got the ear of someone that is about to become the leader of the most powerful country. We've got to listen. That time has passed. And I guess now we listen to try and figure out what the plan is. What I think is interesting about Musk is that I think he's driven by this, lots of people are sort of saying this, but like he's so driven to be the most powerful, the most accepted. I was hearing like some commentators saying like, well, he went to the Democrats and like they wouldn't listen to him. And that was probably the right decision.
Oh, that was because of the electric car thing. But yeah. So, yeah.
He just wants... I don't even think he's particularly... There were some moments where he does seem to be very convinced with what he's talking about. And then other things I'm like, are you trying to remember that you've swung really far into this thing? And I do think he's got these weird ideas that he is convinced of, like this natalism thing.
Yeah, he kept forgetting that he's a fascist, and then he said, "I'm actually a fascist now."
Yeah,
and I have to say these things
exactly.
because he used to be like, because at the beginning they very much got stuck in the weeds at the beginning talking about energy policy.
Oh God, there was nothing for the racists until about well into it.
Yeah, and that would have possibly disappointed Alice Weidel. I mean, she probably really wanted to get into immigration straight away, and maybe talk about Muslims, but he was more kind of like going into energy policy, and then he was sort of saying, well, I'm in favor of renewable energy, obviously, and because, well, he is, isn't he? And then
that was very funny. Her just being like,
she was like, woo, woo, woo. And that was the one moment where there was like a moment of dissonance between them.
Yeah.
A little, maybe a little side story that's maybe of interest. Do you remember when we were talking about the Gigafactory? And I went there and I talked to some people, and you know the Gigafactory outside Berlin, his big Tesla factory.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's the name of the factory.
Okay.
And the thing there in that local area is the AfD has been very vocal about the protests against the Gigafactory.
Really?
Because they were expanding and they were like pissed off about how it was going to ruin the local neighborhood, and also because of I think underneath that there was a feeling that there were too many foreign workers. Yeah, because I went to the Gigafactory, and there's like hardly any Germans working in there. They're mostly Polish people and immigrants.
Yeah, they like literally are busing people in huge numbers, aren't they? Like, you can see the buses at supermarkets and stuff.
So it was quite interesting. But the point is, there's a Bürgerinitiative Grünheide, so a citizens' initiative, a protest movement against it. They've always been a bit embarrassed because they've had the AfD supporting them the whole time, and they just kind of put out a statement today saying, The Weidel has basically made the AfD a ridiculous party, and this kind of uncovers how the AfD doesn't mean any of its opposition to Tesla and the Tesla factory and the expansion that they want to bring in. So there was like a little local Berlin
So
thing,
we're relying
reaction
on
to that.
the citizens of the Grünheide Citizens Initiative to give some balanced commentary or like insightful coverage of this.
But it was also like the whole tone of this thing was like, you know, the way she was kept kind of giggling at his jokes, his non-jokes, and there was this sort of awkwardness. And then in the end, I mean, people can just listen to it for themselves, but then in the end,
I really would advise against it. It was
what did
very
you find?
awkward.
What did you find interesting in ways that you weren't expecting?
I feel like Elon Musk, and I was listening to actually Trevor Noah, who I really love, has a podcast, and I thought it was going to be like I was going to be annoyed by it because he was like, I'm going to talk to people that I might not like agree with. I'm like, are you just going to platform right-wing people here, Trevor? Am I going to have to rethink my crush on you? But it's actually quite good. They did a whole thing about Elon Musk and how he has come to be who he is, and I think he is emblematic of the crisis of masculinity that we have at the moment amongst like certain. I think he will twist and shape his views according to what is going to get him the most kind of acceptance. And I find it interesting listening, or that was the argument kind of that I had heard then before, like, oh, he used to support Obama and thing, and now he feels kind of snubbed by that, and now he's gone so balls deep in this weird real fascist stuff. And maybe that's kind of interesting to look at, like trying to figure out how we get ourselves out of this and start talking to people who are like so clearly voting in their own disinterest. Like there were points where listening to him, it really sounded like he didn't believe in what he was saying, which I don't know if that's like comforting or not.
Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about a lot of the time.
Oh, I'm not talking about like the actual scientific content or any of that, because that was just like literally grade 10 maybe. Honestly, like if you were grading that, you would have to just be like, that's a sweeping generalization, that's factually incorrect.
Yeah.
It was very much in terms of the content and the vibe of the whole thing. It very much reminded me of like grading these, you know, if you make a kid, some students like do a podcast. Even for...
I'd love to see that. I would love to have Elon Musk in your class, and then he has to
like,
stand up and do a talk.
Sweeping generalization. Do you possibly think that...
Yeah, and people think he's clever. Even the science stuff sounded stupid to me.
It sounded insane. Like, I'm sorry, this isn't good. But this is what...
Yeah.
He then talks this philosophical thing at the end, which you were like, just listen to that bit. But I was like, I've done it now. I'm going to, in the name of fucking, I don't know, journalism, whatever the fuck we're doing here. I'm going to fucking listen to it. But there is a vulnerability that I see still present in Elon Musk that I think other right-wing loons have lost, like far gone. That he is still willing to open himself up and say, when I was 12 or 13, I found Douglas Adams, and there's this really sweet, earnest, to be honest, like misreading, I think, of the meaning of life is 42. And he goes into this whole thing. It's then really about the question. I was like, oh, it was a bit of a joke. Like that kind of Adams was making. But if you read it when you're 12 or 13, then yes. And
I read it when I was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny and really deep as well.
Yeah.
But I don't
he's
think
still
that
in it
as much
thinking
now.
that I know, but that's sort of what I mean. Like, I think we can look at Elon
Everyone
Musk
loves that book.
as a very, very dangerous person, like in terms of the stuff that he feels like he is able to speak to, and he can, and the influence that he now has, because as a society, we have still not learned. We are still, particularly in America, I think, taken in by these absolute grifters who have bad ideas and who don't.
Yeah.
I know there's still this kind of like bit to him where he shows his hurt and pain very visibly to us. And I'm not saying that we then excuse his disgusting ideas now, but it shows us what is driving. He's like this real blown up version of, I think, what is driving a lot of like particularly young men to the right. And he has had horrible things. Like they lost a child. He's now estranged from this other child. Like all of that is quite public. And
well, didn't he get estranged from that child because...
Oh, for horrible reasons. Like
because she's trans.
Yeah, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that he's not... I'm
yeah.
absolutely, I want to be very clear here. I'm not apologizing. I'm not being an Elon Musk apologist. But if we are going to talk about him, I think talking about him as
he's a damaged person.
As a big kind of blown up under the microscope version of like, what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
Because he weirdly says the quiet bit out loud about his own vulnerabilities in a way that like Trump won't.
I think that's a very astute point you've just made.
God, I'm already half binned on this mega can.
So actually,
But I think we need to
because for people who haven't heard it, essentially at the end he said, "Is there anything you want to ask me?" And so she started to ask. She sort of asked him like, "When are you going to go to Mars?" Finally,
and then he literally answered the question.
And then he started talking about going to Mars, and then he started talking about like, and then she said, "Do you believe in God?" And he started talking about his physics-based approach to God, and he says, all this other stuff. And then he talks about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then he said, that led me to conclude that we should expand the scope and scale of consciousness so that we're better able to know what questions to ask about the answers to the universe. We should take the sort of actions that lead to a greater understanding of the universe. And I thought, yeah, but you're talking to a fascist who wants to deport literally thousands of immigrants. Is that going to lead to a greater understanding of the universe?
I don't think he operates
it was so absurd. It was so absurd.
It is absolutely, and this is why he's dangerous, because he then and literally.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You're talking about like going to space, and she's like, we got to get rid of all these Muslims. Mm-hmm. Like these, like, and she was being sycophantic to him. Who are you people? Why are we talking? Why am I here talking about you people? But we have to, because she's second in the polls at the moment.
Yeah.
And we've seen from Austria and elsewhere that it could be very quickly things can happen, and she would be in power, and he's already in power in America. So it's like it's just sort of. Why? Like, who are we?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, he's not able to talk. I think he doesn't understand geopolitics. Like, that's beyond. He does know quite a bit about tech because he's probably picked it up from people trying to explain to him how his cars actually work. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, like they talked about Israel and Palestine.
Oh my God! Can I just say, because I fucking wrote it down.
And he was all like, "Oh, we have to make Palestinians prosper." And it was like, well, yeah, that would be really good. But have you seen what's happening? I mean, like, when are they? They're not prospering now, are they?
But this is what I mean.
They're
this
being
is
ethnically
like
cleansed.
Great. This was like two students who'd been given like a geography case study who had to then debate it. But what I thought was really interesting about that was they'd obviously got these talking points that they were going to discuss. And he says to her, what do you think about the situation in the Middle East? And to give fucking Alice her due, in that, she's a weird, I don't even know. Anyway, she kind of starts with this almost, in far as an AfD politician can do a good faith argument. She literally, but again, these are not people. If it was my grade 10s in front of me and they answered like this, I'd be like, that's fine. She was like, well, I'm an honest politician, and to be honest, the more I read, the more complicated it gets. And maybe Israel needs to make some alliances with like Sunni states or wherever. Just again, this is not the level at which we should be discussing this. But Elon, like Musk, is like freaking out because he's like, and then he literally goes, no, I mean, I think, but like, can you say that you fundamentally agree with Israel's right to exist? And she goes, oh, I see the question you're asking. Yes. And then she goes into her like, oh, yeah, of course, in Germany. Yes, of course, 100%. I'm looking out my window and I see these Palestinian demos and a Jew could not walk with them, despite the fact that it's like fact checking, like literally loads of them. They've been arrested, etc.
Yeah.
And then she just goes into this like imported anti-Semitism, like anti-Islam rant. And I don't know whether that was calculated or how scripted it was, but he cannot seem to understand geopolitics, which is why I think he will take the AfD, the AfD I switched languages midway through there. He'll take them kind of at face value. I think when she gives her little speech at the beginning, like he's like, oh, no one really knows what they are. But then he's also been calling for mass deportation. So like he does kind of know. I don't, but it's fucking weird, man. But we got to pay attention now, I think.
We're in a really bad time.
Yeah.
Like I'm quite worried, I think. And especially in Europe, and I think this is really bad. I mean, I don't know what to say. There's like we're probably like mid 1930s shit, you know, because this kind of chat leads to war. I mean, it leads to war, and I don't know. It's we can't just keep going on like this. Anyway, it's the
to go on like this.
It's the AfD party conference this weekend in a place called Riesa, Eastern Germany, and there's a huge protest planned.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone to go to that, because if anything is going to change anyone's mind, it will be huge protests. And talking about huge protests, there have also been huge protests in Vienna. I know we do mainly German politics, but bad things are happening in Austria too.
And literally have no idea about this, so please inform me.
So
like I've heard the bad things.
So the next Chancellor of Austria is probably going to be Herbert Kickl, who is the leader of the FPÖ. And to give it like a bit of sort of the German equivalent would be Björn Höcke.
Fuck me.
And he's quite close to the identitarian movement. He's friends with Martin Sellner, who was the identitarian movement leader, who was briefly blocked from entering Germany because he had been part of this remigration conference that was in Potsdam. And so this is like really...
He was also like chatting with the New Zealand Christchurch shooter and stuff, like that level of lad.
Proper neo-Nazi person. And
like a real one. Probably doesn't even bother to wear a suit. Just...
I mean, there's a slightly different context, is that Kickl has already been in government in Austria before. He was the interior minister from 2017 to 2019. And there is a little bit of the ÖVP, which is his party, which is the equivalent of the AfD. They're not... The taboo against them isn't as strong as it is in Germany in the same way. So they are in coalition governments in the States already. They have been, and they had Sebastian Kurz was the chancellor, who was brought down by that scandal with the corruption scandal thing a few years ago. So there is a bit more. There's like slightly different context here. But the problem was that the centrist parties were supposed to come together and form a coalition, because Kickl won the election, had the biggest party, but all the other parties said we're not going to do a coalition with them. So they tried to come together, and everyone thought, okay, phew, that'll be all right. It was going to be a three-way coalition, a bit like in Germany. It didn't work out. The equivalent of the FDP, the sort of neoliberal parties, they left first, and then the other parties split apart. And then the ÖVP, which is the equivalent of the CDU, the centre-right party, they were the ones who had been in doing the whole campaign saying that they were going to, we are going to stop the FPÖ, we are going to stop Kickl, we are going to stop the fascists taking over. And now they're saying, okay, well, we have to do a coalition with the fascists as the junior partner in the government. And this is really, really bad. And it couldn't be a worse timing for Germany, because it's now we're in the middle of an election campaign in Germany, and it's only going to make the AfD stronger if
that's normalized.
If we get the impression that it is possible to do a coalition with them. And Weidel herself has said that, within 5 years, the AfD will be in government in Germany, and I think she's probably right. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a huge amount of pressure on the CDU this election. I don't think it's going to happen in this election, but I think by the time of the next election, I think it's going to be a huge pressure on the CDU to go into coalition with the AfD, and then I think we should just get out of here. I really don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know.
But where to go? Ireland better fucking stop fucking about with fascism, let me tell you, because I will be fucking livid.
Yeah.
Canada's about to go. Oh, but then, okay, it's not happened yet.
It's not happened yet. Kickle is not chancellor yet. They still have to do the coalition negotiations too.
Maybe also like a warning sign, and maybe if it sets precedent for the AfD, this is just me doing like Pollyanna thinking now, then it also puts a fire under like our parties being like, you better not fucking, you go in and you form a government. Like, I don't care who you have to work with. Yeah. But this is the other thing. Like, we can't rely, I don't feel like we can rely, like, your one job in Austria, home of fucking Hitler, is to go into a room and hammer out a coalition contract.
Yeah.
And you can't fucking do it because otherwise the Nazis are going to take over. Like, what are we even doing? Less than 100 years after they did last time.
Do you want us to know why the negotiations broke down?
Because people are dicks.
There's that. It was also because it was basically a hangover from COVID taxes. So they...
Oh, kill me fucking now.
So they wanted to, basically, they wanted to do like really heavy taxes because apparently during the COVID times in Austria, they spent quite a lot of state money and got into an awful lot of debt. And some of the parties wanted to raise taxes and the other parties didn't want to raise them that much.
Oh, that's cool. No, that's grand. Yeah, sure. Get the the Nazis in. What could possibly go wrong? I'd honestly rather be taxed to. I would rather be taxed to death than. Fucking hell.
Don't need to finish that sentence. No. Talking of fascist enablers, Christian Lindner.
Oh, Christ.
Thanks very much to listener Adnan.
Hi, Adnan.
Hi, Adnan. For pointing this out. This actually happened just before Christmas. This is quite a long time ago, but
worth remembering. Because I bet Christian wishes he would forget.
Because it was really funny. Elon Musk, on the 20th of December, tweeted, "Only the AfD can save Germany." Everyone lost their minds in Germany. And then Christian Lindner was like, he wrote a tweet in English and he wrote, "Elon, I've initiated a policy debate inspired by ideas from you and Milei." That's Javier Milei, the Argentinian far-right. Nutbag. "While migration control is crucial for Germany, the AfD stands against freedom and business, and it's a far-right extremist party. Don't rush to conclusions from afar. Let's meet, and I'll show you what the FDP stands for."
I mean, do you know what? It is embarrassing and cringe, but then the FDP are embarrassing and cringe.
It's just like, so why don't can I be your friend?
It is, but honestly, like, I don't even condemn this like that much because it could fucking work.
It could.
Like, this is the thing. Musk seems to just sort of blow around in the wind.
So I don't know. It's like all these people just want to suck off Elon Musk. Anyway. But yeah, sorry. And Elon Musk did not respond to the tweet from the former German finance minister. That's where we are now. Poor chap. He got ghosted by Elon.
God, it must be quite tough to be Christian Lindner at the moment. Thoughts and prayers, but also please just retire. Okay, what else is on the list of notes we have?
Oh, do you want me to talk about AfD people?
Yeah.
So I did an article this week about AfD voters of immigrant background,
yes,
of which there are a surprising number. So for a bit of context, up until now, it's been so Germany is a very multicultural society, as you know.
Is it? I suppose compared to like...
Yeah, there's about there's about 17 million people of non-German background living in Germany. About 12 million of them can vote. But
interesting.
Traditionally, and this is changing quite quickly. Traditionally, there was mainly like the biggest communities were the Turkish community and the Russian German community. Mm-hmm. And they were the ones that were most likely to be able to vote because they'd been here for a while, so they're most likely to get citizenship. And up until as recently as 2017, the Turkish community voted overwhelmingly for the SPD.
Yeah.
The Russian German community voted overwhelmingly more for the CDU.
Yeah.
And everything thought that was fine, like those parties kind of counted on those votes. In the last few elections, in 2021 and more recently, not only has there been a more diversity of non-German voters, so the voters who are not Turkish or Russian, of Turkish or Russian background, but not only that, but there is no longer any party loyalty you can generally draw. So that there's actually not much difference between non-German voters and German voters in terms of who they vote for, voting patterns. So demographically...
So it's all gone...
Yeah.
Interesting.
In the last few months, the AFD has particularly, if you've been going on the AFD TikTok accounts, I believe, Maximilian Krah.
No, I haven't really, because I actually like TikTok now.
Oh, do you?
And I don't want to ruin. I mean, I don't. I'm going to give it up in 2025, but I'm briefly addicted.
Okay. But they are targeting more non-white immigrant voters, especially the AFD have become quite adept at this, and especially the Turkish community. And Maximilian Krah, who you'll remember was the guy who said the SS weren't that bad. And he was the European candidate for the AFD. And he basically had to be stood down, but he's still very active on TikTok, and he's been posting a lot of videos specifically about how great Turkey is as a country and how great Erdogan is, and how there's this brotherhood of nations between Turkey and Germany, and seems to have been quite effective. And
I think a lot of I wonder if the influence of Erdogan's reign on stuff like, because I guess, same as we all do, if you map your politics onto the one, like similar ones, and if a country that you have a connection with has a figure like that, you might be like, I was quite shocked when I heard that like lots of people living in Berlin voted for Erdogan, like people who could vote in the... I wouldn't want to speculate about why that might be, but yes, that happened. Anyway, recently, so it's interesting because the AFD's the AFD's party manifesto includes this line: the AFD views the ideology of multiculturalism as a serious threat to social peace and to the continued existence of the nation as a cultural entity. But they obviously don't view multiculturalism as a threat to the AFD because they are trying to get voters from all different people, from all backgrounds. Almost like we maybe shouldn't take them, or it's not even that we shouldn't take them at their word. They're telling us exactly who they are, but we're all just so like post-truth society now that like people don't seem to take things.
No. So I spoke to a few people of immigrant background who vote AFD, and the thing that you notice is...
What was that like? Wow.
So I vote to a woman called Anna Nguyen, who's of Vietnamese. She's her parents are both Vietnamese refugees. She was born in 1990, and she is now an AFD representative in the Hesse state parliament. And she said she has experienced racism in Germany, but she said it was always from other immigrants, and she said presumably Arabs. So she doesn't like Arabs, and then she reckons, and then she said that online she gets a lot of racist abuse too, but it is mainly from leftists. And she said, in the AFD, I have not experienced any racism at all. Yeah, and there is actually a small organization called With Migration Background for Germany, which is an AFD-associated organization in Hesse, which has 137 members from over 30 countries. And and I spoke to the head of them, who was a guy who had his father was Greek. He's also an AFD representative in the Hesse State Parliament. And what you really notice when you talk to them is that when German AFD politicians say racist stuff, they say, and then you say, okay, but what about that? When that guy said that thing that was really racist about how we were going to get rid of all these immigrants. And he says, yeah, but they don't mean us. They mean the criminal immigrants. They mean the illegal immigrants. They don't mean us. It's like this sort of.
And this is the other thing, obviously. So like that. That's just such a populist term, or such a populist thing of, and I noticed it a lot with Musk and Weidel. They didn't come out and just say we need to stop immigration and send everybody back. They're talking about this linking of criminal, undocumented, all of that stuff with immigration. So, but that's just obviously like a massive dog whistle and kind of lie. And then it's really sad to see people that are not understanding that.
Yeah, I mean...
Like the idea that Alice Weidel, if given the chance to get all the Muslims out of Germany, wouldn't take that. Like she'd be like, "Oh no, but you are actually a good one," and like
yeah, we mean the political Islamists. We don't mean Muslims in general. We mean this. We don't mean secular Muslims. You know,
Alice Weidel doesn't understand. Like she doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. So I talked to this guy from this guy with from a Greek background who's AFD guy.
I feel like Greek's probably fine. I mean, he might be all right. Like I don't really think he's.
And so you remember about a year ago there was a big scandal about this remigration. So there was this Potsdam conference that was uncovered by Correctiv, and they said that we want to remigrate loads of immigrants and including, by the way, German citizens of immigrant background. And there's a big scandal about it. And then a Bundestag member called René Springer tweeted in response to this, we will send foreigners back to their home countries by the million. That isn't a secret plan. That is a promise. That tweet is still live, by the way. He never took that down. And I pointed this out to this guy from the AFD who I said, well, what do you think about that? And he said, oh, I spoke to René Springer after that. I phoned him and I said, this is such statements are not helpful for us, and the messaging is not helpful for us. And maybe if you could express yourself in a more nuanced way and more founded in facts, and maybe and he said and he said on the phone he was able to do this. But obviously, in the tweet form, it came across as very, very populist, and you just think, you just feel like really sorry for him.
Cynical manipulation is just fucking.
I mean, I just thought, yeah, but he never took the tweet down. And you just feel like really like these people are so deluded. I mean, so deluded, and you're just so It's just so sad.
I don't really want to speak for anyone else's experience, but like it's difficult moving to a new country and trying to be accepted. So much of this is about like people trying to find acceptance from other human beings, and like.
I mean, the guy I spoke to had been born in Germany. I mean, he wasn't even, but yeah.
Well, then I don't know. I don't know what's happened, but like.
But he was like trying to apologize for him and saying like, yes, but he didn't mean it in that way. And I was like,
but it's like, does he actually believe that? And I think that you must have to, in order to. It's almost like this kind of weird Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, he's a politician. I mean, he's a politician. He gets up in the Hesse State Parliament and makes speeches, and you just and I don't know. I mean, I just think fucking.
Because if you think that
this is a bad time.
In order for them to achieve their goals, are going to go through. They're not going to like.
Anyway, that's all the news for this week. Have you got any?
All the political news for this week.
That's all the. Have you got a fun thing to?
No, we don't.
There's maybe a squirrel got his head trapped in a.
That's the only fun news item we've ever done, I think.
Got his head trapped in a manhole.
Don't have any more festive tips. Took my Christmas tree down yesterday. I just want to lie down.
Yeah, I left my Christmas tree up because I wasn't ready to let go yet.
Yeah. No, that's nice. Mine had to come down yesterday. I was all droopy. But yeah, look, it ain't over till it's over.
No.
And I don't know. I think need to get back on the streets. Need to do more protesting.
I think that's the only thing that will actually make any kind of difference at this stage. I think our politicians are failing us, and I think we have to show them that what we actually want from this society and what kind of world we want to live in, because it's getting really bad. And on that note,
how's your mega can?
I finished it ages ago. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Lime Splash, Jim Beam. It's good.
Yeah. As long as there are mega cans there, we will still be doing Megan's mega can. So, so you'll always have that to rely on.
If we ever have to like flee the country, right?
We'll have to
No other
stockpile
country
them.
has 10% megas other than like the States. So what are we going to do? Export them?
I don't know. We'd have to stockpile them somewhere.
Oh, these are the plans we need to start making, lads.
We'll stockpile mega cans in
Yeah.
a bunker. I mean, they do keep for a while.
Or I'd say they'd keep forever.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to go wrong with them? They might just eat their way through the aluminium. But like,
Yeah, the
you know.
cans might not survive, but the fluid inside will live forever. It's one of those every what's it called, that chemical? Forever chemicals. You know, those chemicals that it's impossible to break them down. That
yeah.
I like. It's one of those.
Oh, God. All right. Well.
A forever chemical cocktail for the rest of our lives. I think we'd covered everything, didn't we? We were going to talk about something else?
I think so. We didn't mention the horrible attack that happened in Magdeburg because it's kind of outside of our thing.
Yeah.
But that was really bad. And
That was bad.
be wary of, I guess, people trying to politicize it because it was done by a person of like immigrant background, but he was a real Islamophobe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was awful.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Jesus fucking Christ.
I wish we did like a football podcast or something.
Oh, I would do anything to
Well, we
go
don't.
back in time to when we had the idea for this. We were both off our heads. Just go, Conrad, let's talk about sport.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about any sport.
Well, we would now. I didn't know anything about German politics then. I was happy. A happy little clam.
Okay.
Okay, that's the last gulp of my mega, so we're definitely done.
We're definitely done. Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
It's been a blast.
Take gentle care of yourself. It's
And
it's okay.
it's okay.
For now, it is okay. And we can still have a little bit of hope, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good to see you again after all these weeks.
It is.
So it was nice.
I missed you. And I didn't look at any news, as you might be able to tell. At one point when we were talking before we started recording, you said something like really obvious about Austria. And you were like, oh, you haven't listened to anything. I was like, no. Not, like, being in a fucking bubble.
Okay. Good. Well,
Okay. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We love you.
Bye.
Can German news in English with a cocktail can. The German news, it's quite a test. With Megan's Mega, you're feeling refreshed. Ooh, Megan's Mega can. German news in English with a cocktail can. Deutsche Nachrichten sind düster und schwer.
Defy the fear.
Yeah.
It's actually it's quite a positive message to give to
think
people.
so.
I like to think that we have quite a positive impact on our listeners
I hope so.
because we try and get them to defy the fear of listening to the news all day.
I mean, it's better than reading a German newspaper. Surely.
I would definitely recommend listening to our podcast more than reading any German newspaper.
German newspapers barely have pictures. Like fucking, it's just a brick of text.
Oh yes. Yeah, and they seem to make a virtue of it. They think it's like so great to have no text.
Not like you Americans
pictures.
with your fucking
Colour pictures.
decadent pictures in
I
your
know.
newspapers.
Yeah,
What's
but-
that? A crossword puzzle? Oh, no
You have
wonder
to-
you had Trump. Jesus Christ, everyone! Like, there's a middle ground.
You have to concentrate on the news. It's very important. And you have to like keep it there.
Just have a mega. and
Have a
listen to
moment.
us.
Give us a picture every now and then.
Just a
and-
wee picture, maybe of,
Yeah.
a diagram.